Morning, afternoon, or evening, folks. Let folks roll in here for a little bit.
I love that you
Hey,
change up your background, Drummond.
So, yeah, I went from the outdoors to the very indoors. This is the if I duck to the side, you can actually see that's Nathan Schneider back there, and this is his media lab at the University of Colorado in Boulder. And it is like a little miniature version of the Computer History Museum. It's like got every machine going all the way back to like the Altair. Yeah, it's he just gave me a tour when I visited him there last May, and I could have spent many hours there. He gives a whole class that teaches sort of the history of media, and you use all those, and they all work. And there's one guy that maintains the whole thing. That's the guy he's talking to back there in the back. Yeah, it's really very fascinating dude. All right, I'm just going to arrange windows here this morning. Let's see
and
what we
while
can do.
everybody's coming on here, could I hit everybody up to go into the Discord and answer a little query I put there? I'm playing around with the concept of self-sovereign attention, so I want to see how that hits you.
Self-sovereign attention. Oh, that's cool. All right, that one will go there. Okay. All right, let's give it one more minute. We started 4 minutes after the hour here. And I'm going to share my screen. That up there. Chat open. And participant list. Good. We will not, unfortunately, I talked to Martina yesterday. She has an appointment that she could not move, made quite some time ago, with uh, an agency of some kind that you need appointments months in advance. So she will not be able to join us today. Nikki said that she would be joining via phone. Oh, there she is.
Hello,
She is there. How are you? How are you, Nikki?
all good. I'm sitting in beautiful sunshine.
Oh, don't rub it in. That's not the situation here in Seattle, but we'll leave that aside. All right, 4 minutes after, let's go ahead and get going. Welcome everyone to the March 18th meeting of the Decentralized Trust Graph Working Group, the Americas and Europe meeting. And as always, we will share our antitrust policy notice. We are, as a reminder, everyone, a joint working group of Trust IP and the Decentralized Identity Foundation. And so members of either one are welcome here to contribute. If you're not a member of either one, you're welcome to be here, but don't contribute anything substantial. And always pause and ask if there are any new members that want to make an introduction. You're welcome to do that. You just put your hand up, or you can put something in the chat, or you can also use our bio page here and put something there. I'll copy the link and put it in the chat here. Bio page. And you can put something there and see, you can see a rather long list of all the folks that have been joining us. So, I'm not seeing any hands up, so we'll dive right into it. Quick review of today's agenda. We are going to have a report. Nikki has been busy, and the Risk Assessment Harms Task Force. She'll run us through what they've been doing. Fairly short report, credentials task force, and then our main topic, our deep dive today is going to be into the topic of agent names and agent pages. Now that we have the new repo, I posted the submission that was made I think 3 weeks ago, and we'll go into it in more depth so folks understand what, and we can have a Q&A around that. I don't know if Marcus, I invited him to be here today, but I don't know if he can make it. If he is able to make it, he also has a demo that he can show of how all that works. So before we go any further, are there any revisions or additions to the agenda? See if there's anything else folks want to bring up here today. Okay, if not, then one thing we always do is stop and ask, are there any general announcements that folks have that they want to share with the group? Whoops, I need this up here. I can just stick that in there. I don't know if it qualifies, but we're getting close to, Riza's got one. Go ahead. You're on mute.
My best words are spoken to a muted microphone. Just to remind everyone that the recordings of the Quai Summit are available, and I posted a link here in the chat. So I look forward to that. Drummond Reed at his most eloquent, basically rattled through 55 slides in under 20 minutes. So that was really good. And then there's the Ben Goertzel presentation. There's the Rafi Krikorian presentation and Drummond, and then Richard Witt. And then they have the panel moderated by Daniela Barbosa. So get a load of that. And then our research and our development and our policy work groups all presented as well. Thanks.
Yes, I want to tell you, Riza, I've had several follow-up meetings, not only with you, but with several other of those person that joined us from Singularity.net, Ben Goertzel's organization. Yeah. There's a lot of intersections there, and so I thank you for that. That was it's a great place to meet a bunch of folks. And I'm
One of Ben Goertzel's proteges has been attending the AIM group as well.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna. I'm trying to remember. Do you remember her name, Steve?
Lisa, perhaps?
Yeah, I can't remember, but she's one of the people I'm following up with. Excellent. Okay, so that's and then also Carly has put in the chat just letting folks know. So one of the efforts that in the Carry Stack working group, they came up with a clever way to basically do a content addressed credential a content address in the content, a standard way of putting a content address in the content. They call it a self-addressing identifier, or a SED. And it was useful enough that, yeah, Haley, that's it. Thank you, Sankarshan, from Singularity.net. That's Haley. Anyway, they called it a SED, and it was such a useful nugget that Carly suggested that they turn it into a new URN namespace. And Carly, you led that effort, right? To have that listed? I think she did. Oh, she's not on audio. I see. She's just on video. So in any case, that has just been approved, and she put the link in the chat. So that is excellent. And I'll also mention Internet Identity Workshop number 42, and all of us know how in this space what an important, auspicious anniversary that is coming up, and it is April 28th to 30th with VRM Day is always the day before. So the VRM day is it's April 27th in Mountain View, California. So, and I macro for that. So there we go. So, starting with Phil Windley, and the sponsorships are still available for that too. So, any other announcements before we dive into the rest of the agenda? All right, let's pipe into it. We didn't have any action items from the last meeting, so Nikki, I know you're on the phone, so I am showing here on the screen your summary. So all over to you.
Oh, hi there. Yeah, so last time we spoke, we talked about providing tools, and some of those tools would be persona. And um, so what I've done is within the working group, we've iterated around the persona, adding things like machine persona and some additional bad actor persona. And then I've gone through the process that you can see in front of you here, using Claude to create various artifacts, including an Excel document that lists epics, user stories, scenarios, guardrails, and assurance tests, and then a risk controls, guardrails, and assurance tests spreadsheet as well against those persona and their scenarios and their requirements and the risks that they develop. Then I've put that together, done some analysis again using the tools of the credential spec V3. It says at the top V4, which is incorrect, Drummond, on the screen here.
I'm sorry.
So
what
that
needs to be corrected,
got
Nikki?
from GitHub, and it created a nice evaluation of the harms and risks that kind of are prevented by the specification. So on the top, on the top line, it says RAF evaluation of credential spec V4 on the top line of this row.
Yes, I see that. And that's supposed to be VO3?
And further updates, specifically introducing metrics that we can use to sort of prioritize requirements and link persona to specific risks and controls. Updated the risk register, obviously, on that basis, and the user stories, and asked Claude to create a mini website so that you can see it all laid out and kind of navigate either from the risks and controls angle, or starting with the persona. In the G drive, the trust over IP folder, to see the little mini website, you need to download the folder, the files, and open them in your browser. And then taking all of that together, done some analysis, again using the tools to prioritize the next set of requirements in terms of the priority guardrails or the priority use cases or priority controls. So I kind of did this partly to demonstrate how you could use a tool like a persona set, partly to start kind of delivering requirements back to the teams in the other task forces. And what I'd love to be able to do is sit down, ideally, with someone from the credential definition task force, just to, first of all, have a sanity check. You know, is this useful and does it make sense? And then perhaps have a follow-up broader discussion with the team if it is useful. And then, of course, you know, think about ways of putting it into GitHub that would make it kind of traceable as a requirement set and things like that. And by the end of the month, the aim is that this document, that's itemized in 8, is a kind of a first deliverable from the task force alongside the tool set, which would include like instructions on how to use AI to update the risk register or the data that sits behind it or the epics and user stories. So that's a quick
Excellent.
summary.
Yes. And I just added the action item, Nikki, as you and I discussed in the meeting yesterday. I think there's a bunch of good outcomes and good recommendation or risks that need to be discussed. Steve Vick, I just noted, Nikki, that the Google Docs. Oh, he said they need permissions. I wonder if he's running into the classic TrustRP Google Drive challenge.
Yeah, it could well be that.
So,
Uh,
and
because it
the short
should
answer,
You
be
don't want these publicly viewable?
accessible to anyone who's got access to that folder.
so the problem with
Viewable. I
the,
can put
go ahead, Nick, you're breaking up a little bit. What are you saying?
so I guess for a couple of options here. So I could put them in my an
Yeah, unfortunately you're breaking up, Nikki. So what I'm putting into the chat is the note that the docs that are on the Google Drive, you need to use the address that you're registered either at TrustRP or diff. Of course, the challenge is the Google Drive is set up under TrustRP, so it doesn't recognize the diff addresses. But you can email support at just to say I'm putting in the address. That's it. And give them your Google Drive email address. I just called it your Google Drive email address. If you have a challenge, just send an email to support at lfdecentralizedtrust.org and tell them, that, and Nikki, yes, uh, there is an open Google Drive that you and I can go offline and see if we can discuss that. And of course, anything can be put in the GitHub repos, and then it is available there too. So we'll work on that. It is just a limitation of the Google Drive that the way it's set up is you have to either use the email address you have registered with Linux Foundation, or as I said, if you need to use a different address to access Google materials, then you just need to tell them and they add it to a table and then it works. So, in any case, thanks very much. I know, Nikki, sorry about it being hard on the phone, but there is a bunch of good work there. So I do encourage folks to look at it. I will work with Nikki to arrange a meeting with the Credentials Task Force folks because there's a bunch of good outcome in there, or a bunch of good input into what some of the risks and harms that we want to make sure are addressed in the spec. Okay, we will move on now to Credentials Task Force report. We, due to the workload of various folks involved, we have not made any progress on putting together the spec template we need to move into a formal working draft. That should finally, I think, it happened this week. I'm one of the guilty parties there and just had too many other things backed up. But in good news, we again through the different presentations we've been giving at the Quai Summit, at the Linux Foundation Member Summit, and the Summit on Human Agency, we've got a bunch. We've had, I think, 4 different incoming sort of collaboration requests or inquiries. One of them, so Otto, who I think he's sort of this Otto.
Yep.
Made an introduction to the Ethereum Foundation ZKID team, Zero Knowledge ID team. Otto, you want to give us just a quick background on that team and what they're doing?
Yeah, sure. Happy to do it. So, yeah, within the Ethereum Foundation, there's a team dedicated to privacy. And one of their mandates has been looking at how to enable decentralized identity to have a zero knowledge kind of layer on top of it. Something that is, inherently open and can be reused, whether you use blockchains or not, right? Completely agnostic to that. And they've been looking at how to add this also into the EUDI architecture reference framework as a, kind of zero knowledge, purposed technology that can be used for, not just age verification like Google's Longfellow did, but also beyond that, just generic, zero knowledge proofs with various capabilities on it. So that's the goal of OpenAC. And it sounds like there might be a potential opportunity to collaborate there and, discuss that in more detail with the group. So yeah, I'm hoping that conversations with Zoe keep progressing.
And indeed, it was so Otto made the introduction. I talked to Zoe. She's in Hong Kong, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And so talked to her last night. Excellent conversation. It turned out she was. I shared with her, and I can share with everyone else. There is a blog post. Let me put it out here. That's the blog post right there. That the team led by Dr. Sanjay Garg at Berkeley and Hart Montgomery, the Linux Foundation Decentralized Trust CTO, helped us recruit that team and has been working with them. He's one of the co-authors of the paper. That blog post explains basically the human readable version of what they have been doing for the last year in preparing the ZKP architecture. They need to do aggregate proofs of your decentralized trust graph. So that's the blog post, and at the end of the blog post is the paper that they also published. I guess it was 3 weeks ago at the on the day of the HOH Summit on Human Agency. So after our call, Zoe, who heads up that team, went and she and her colleague looked over that paper and basically compared it against what they've done with the OpenAC project. And they were like, "Hey, we think this is compatible. We think this this could work." So Anyway, I have actually, I guess I'll pull it up here. I've already taken an action item to connect the to connect the ZKID team with Hart and Dr. Sandra Garg. So I will be doing that, and we'll see how much probably. But it'd be great if there was another library that was available and has a whole team behind it. How large is that ZKID team, Otto?
Yeah, I believe it is 5 people or so. That's my understanding at the moment. It's led by a person called Vivian Placencia, who is part of the Ethereum privacy CKID team.
Yeah, yeah, super. Well, again, really appreciate that. This is the working group of work, and it's a great. Um, Very nice. As I said, as word gets out there, and this is even before we have, operational, decentralized trust graphs in the wild, we're attracting, as folks who say, I get it. This is how this can work. Actually, that reminds me, that I forgot, and there's not really an announcement, but I just want to share that last night, the retiring executive director of the Electronic Freedom Foundation, EFF, Cindy Cohn, is on a book tour. She's written a book called Privacy's Defender. I won't do it right now, but anyone who's online can just look up Cindy Cohn, Cohn, and Privacy's Defender, and you'll get the link to her book. And she gave a talk at Seattle's Town Hall last night. It was very well attended. The person who sponsored the talk arranged because he didn't know Cindy, but he is the primary sponsor of that talk series there. So he asked if we could meet with her before her talk, and we did for about 15 minutes. And she was such a fabulous talk. I highly recommend the book. I don't have my copy right here, but she gave a great talk about the book. She has been 30 years of working on defense of privacy. One of the things she talked about was how how important the whole early days of actually getting encryption well, declassified and no longer listed as a munition, and therefore not subject or not, so you couldn't export it. And back 30 years ago, publishing a document on the internet was considered exporting it. So she was the one who led the case to actually get um, Ron, is it Bernstein? I think that's the name. Anyway, that's the opening story in the book, is how they finally won that case and got encryption out into the world. Anyway, it was fabulous. We got to spend about 15 minutes with her and explain to her what we're doing with this working group and the first person project. And she was very interested. We, of course, connected on Signal, and we'll be following up with her. So, all right. We're perfectly on time. And so let's move to if there are no questions about that, we'll move to our final topic of, we're going to drill down into agent names and agent pages. And first we have finally a repo here. I'll just this one right here. And all I've done is finally took care of that action item I had from a meeting, I think 3 weeks ago, to take that document that I'll show you here, that is written up in Google Docs. This one, I will grab that link right now and put agent names, agent pages pack is here, and that one is it's not on the Trust Repeat drive. It's wide open, publicly available, so anyone should be able to get to that. So that was the submission we made, but we didn't have this repo yet. So what I did is make the first discussion entry in the repo and just provide links to introduce the topic, as well as to the new homepage we have for the agent names task force. And so this first discussion was just to answer any general questions about it. There's a whole bunch of uh, discussions we can start to have. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to last time we did a very quick pass through this document, and I'm going to go a little deeper here because there's a lot of there's a lot of nuance to how this will work here. So you can see there's quite a few questions in the document. It's in a FAQ construction here just to make it easy. So we'll start at the top level. Actually, I'm gonna put the Zuko's triangle up on the screen, but I will say just as a high level introduction. So why are agent names relevant to the decentralized trust graph, and why do we call them agent names, as you can see right on the screen? And it's because having a naming layer on top of DIDs, it's been talked about for a while, because when we did decentralized identifiers, and I'm referring to the 7-year effort from the first spec in 2015 to the final W3C approval as a W3C standard in 2022, we made a very, very conscious decision to only tackle, this is a trilemma, and we said we're not going to tackle human meaningful. DIDs are only going to be about being decentralized and secure, cryptographically verifiable. And it was like there's nothing out there that really fully covers those two things, and we desperately need that. And it was, even though between us, those of us who were working on the spec early on, if anyone had asked, well, where should it be standardized, the answer probably would have been IETF, which is, for instance, where the URI standards are done. But for, just political reasons and who was at the table, it ended up happening at W3C. And the interesting thing is that W3C had not approved a different. Are you all seeing this? What just happened to my screen? Yeah. It's wonderful to have, ad blocking extensions, except when they make ads for themselves, it really drives me a little nuts. Wow.
Use Brave.
No action on my, what's that?
Brave does it by default. You don't have to have the plugin. I mean, it takes a
Yeah,
little.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Uh, in any case, W3C decided that, well, first they approved the working group, and ultimately, of course, they approved the specification because they said that DIDs and what DIDs implement, which is cryptographically verifiable identifiers, were so important to the future of a secure web, and of course things like Web3, that it's the only identifier standard that they have accepted a working group for and ultimately approved in their history. Everything's been based on HTTP and then HTTPS URLs, right? That is the basis for addressing on the web. So I guess that the upside of doing it at W3C was that they put their weight behind the importance of saying we need cryptographically verifiable identifiers. We need to standardize them. And interesting enough, I think one of the other reasons they were okay with it was, again, because of this decision, we were only going to tackle decentralized secure and stay away from all the issues that come when you have human meaningful identifiers. And so again, that was standardized we finally got the standard approved in I think it was July of 2022. And it did solve a bunch of problems, but they are not human meaningful at all. So they're intentionally designed to be, in the plumbing, very much like, ordinary people don't really have to deal with or everyday users of the internet don't have to deal with IP addresses. We're just dealing with domain names, and in many cases, most of the URLs we have to deal with, we're just copying and pasting. The Google Doc address up here is, almost entirely not human meaningful, except for the very start of it that it's a Google Doc. So there's no question that there's a lot of value there, but there just hasn't been any, real need so far for a solution of something that is that could tackle this human meaningful layer. Well, when you come along with a decentralized trust graph solution where every node of the graph, whether it's a person, a community, an AI agent, has a verifiable trust agent that you can use to communicate, connect and communicate and transact, and they can all produce proofs of their own trust graphs to provide a base level of trust, regardless of whatever other verifiable credential proofs they might be able to do. You now have something where you want to be able to have a simple, human, meaningful way to connect with a node. And actually, for whatever reason, Haley, you just appeared on my screen here, and we were talking earlier about that we were glad you were joining some of our working groups here, and it was, we thank Riza and Kwai for getting us connected. So welcome.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm traveling, so I showed up a bit late, but I'm excited to be here.
Very good, very good. No problem. Just to orient you, we covered other topics, but our deep dive topic today here is this. We have a task force on what we'll call agent names and agent pages, which is what I'm explaining here. So, and if you just joined, you probably haven't seen I'll hit the link on this again. I'll put it in the chat. That's the doc we're looking at. If you're just so you understand the topic we're looking at. So what I'm in the middle of explaining is why this is relevant to the decentralized trust graph working group. Because the simple answer, what agent names is the name that's evolved for a naming layer on top of DIDs, decentralized identifiers. And the reason it's happening now, and the reason they're called agent names, is because there are many challenges with the naming layer. A lot of them have to do with trust, right? The phishing attacks and all kinds of scams are associated, of course, with all the ways you can try and trick people with names or email addresses on the web or the email infrastructure today. And so it's a massive attack surface. So if you don't have a trust solution in this day and age for any form of a general naming solution, it's just not going to go anywhere. Well, so this is why we are not only developing decentralized trust graph, but now we have the need to make it easy to use and easy to access. A very simple and practical example last night is, so I'm sitting down with Cindy Cohn, 30 years in the industry, 20 years as executive director of Electronic Freedom Foundation, EFF. And towards the latter part of the conversation, we're talking about, encryption and she, of course, brings up Signal, and she recommends Signal to everyone. And I said, well, of course, we should connect on Signal. And I always ask, what's your favorite way of doing that? She said, well, yeah, I just, give you my phone number. And I said, well, that's actually not the more private way to do it. And of course, I popped open my QR code on Signal, and she's like, "Oh, yeah, that's right. I don't use it. How does that work again?" And of course, I reminded her and showed her, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I should do this more often." And I'm thinking, okay, the executive director of the Electronic Freedom Foundation does not automatically use the most privacy preserving way of forming a signal connection. So anyway, we use the QR code, and then I all I had to do, because I've been explaining generally what we're about, is I said, and now with what we're doing with the decentralized trust graph and things like the first person project is I can share the QR code and we form that connection entirely, person to person, wallet to wallet, agent to agent, with no intermediary at all. And that now it can work. We can share our cards to work on any network. And because of all the background of everything else, the light bulb went on. And she was like, "Oh, okay." And she said, "Okay, well then what can we do after that?" I said, "Well, with the channel that's set up there, it is pairwise DIDs. It's end-to-end encrypted for anything we want to use it for." And suddenly she was very interested. The light bulb went on. But right there, I was thinking, and if I hadn't had the QR code, or we were talking on the phone, or whatever, I could have used an agent name and also made the connection that way, right? And that being so, QR codes are machine understandable, but the whole point of agent names is it's human meaningful, easy to remember, and just like many short URLs today. So that's that's the background as to why we're doing this and why it is a naming layer over DIDs. The whole idea is an agent name, just the way a DNS name resolves to a DNS record, which in most cases contains an IP address, depending on whether you IP address for a website or for an email server or whatever it is. Yes, technically DNS you can resolve to any type of record. With agent names, the human meaningful string, the agent name string, resolves to a DID. The DID can point and provide keys and endpoints for anything. What we want to use it for is to connect you with a verifiable trust agent for whatever, again, it being a person, a community, or an AI agent. You're always connecting to a verifiable trust agent, which may not be an AI agent. It could be, but it does not have to be. But it is always connecting to an agent who can then do smart things with that. And one of the most important things is what we call contact mediation. So you can use an agent name publicly, like in social media or any public forum, and not have to worry about spam, because your agent is going to essentially serve as your filter, your contact mediation. And whatever your policies are there it's what it's guarding. It doesn't mean it's necessarily perfect. I mean, you can have an attack going at, someone really wants to somehow get through and get a message to you. They can, if they're willing to expend enough resources, they can probably find a way around it. But in general, it should be a safe way to do that. So that's a high level introduction. Now, what do they look like? This next point, there's a bunch of examples here, but the core idea, and this is came from Mr. Marcus Sabadello. Marcus is here now. Welcome, Marcus. I didn't know if you were going to be able to make it today. Do you have audio, Marcus?
Yes, yes. Hello.
Good, excellent. I don't want to put you on the spot, but do you have your demo available if we have time here? I mean, we still have 15 minutes. I don't know if you're in a position where you might be able to show it.
Yeah, absolutely. I can do that.
Okay, good. Well, so then you'll hear less from me, and you'll actually see Marcus as. If folks are not aware, Marcus is one of the co-authors of the DID spec, and still co-chairs it's a Identity and Discovery Working Group at DIF. Is that right, Marcus? Do I have the name right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, exactly. So I call him Mr. Did. Anyway, so this basic syntax for agent names occurred to us at some point, I think about 2 years ago. It's like, and it was really just recognizing that there are many systems we're using now. I believe it was originally Twitter, now X, where the @convention started. I might be wrong about that. I'm not sure where it started, but of course, many of us now use systems where you can mention someone. Oh, thank you, Tim. I'm going to look up that. So, and in those systems, it caught on as a way of being able to address someone within the context of that system, whether it was Twitter um, or Slack or Teams, or it's just caught on. And the the aha was, hey, wait a minute, we could make that globally resolvable at names by simply putting a domain name in front of them. And so the syntax just is literally domain name /at. And then what follows is, and the spec we'll put together is going to be very simple, because what follows is just a URL, a valid URL path. And you can see right below that. So the agent name after the can use any syntax that's allowable in a URL string, and then you can include paths. So you can contextualize an agent name, and again, whatever it is, it resolves to a did. So you can think of it as a two-step resolution process. You resolve the agent name to the did, and then a did resolver takes over and resolves it to whatever whatever endpoint you're looking for. And another thing we'll be doing is standardizing what we call the endpoint type to connect to a verifiable trust agent in the spec. So
could you go into a little more detail about how that pointing happens? In other words, what's resolving what, the architecture?
Yes, that's a good point. In fact, I will do that, and then I will stop and turn it over to Marcus, and he can actually show it working. And thank you, Tim. I will look into RFC 8141. So I'll go down here just a little bit so you can get in see some of the points. So the basic idea is, so we talk here about an agent name resolver, and because of the syntax, the /at syntax, that is just the way software can look for URL syntax and recognize the URL and turn it into a link, or email syntax, recognize the email address, turn it into a link. The goal is to be able to recognize the agent name syntax and turn them into links. But here's the thing: turning it into a link means it's now recognizable as a web address. And so we have this concept of an agent page, which is whatever that web address is addressing, if in fact it does not have to actually have an agent page. But there are two modes effectively. If you're using a software like an ordinary browser that does not recognize it as an agent name, it will only recognize the URL. And if you click it, what you'll get is the agent page, whatever that is. An example might be, if I have an agent name, I gave it to you on like a business card, then it will go to an agent page for me, whatever content I want to put up there or have published, that will represent, okay, this is what you're reaching. It's not. There's a second mode, which is if the software that recognizes as an agent name, it will do the resolution of not just being redirected to a URL, but it will query for the did, get the did back, and then do did resolution on the did to get the did document. And then that software will then use the service endpoints in that did document. And the key is to be able to now talk to your verifiable trust agent. So then it becomes an agent to agent dialogue. And for instance, if I'm using it as a contact mediation point, I'll only actually get notified in the end. I'll get a message if, in fact, the agent to agent said, "Oh, you satisfied Drummond's policies for contacting him," if you're not already a contact, for instance. That's just a quick thing. Tim, I see you have your hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I recommend taking a really close look at RFC 8141. I did last year on some other work and found it pretty much did the job for everything that we needed. And it also contemplates resolution that might not be in the quote unquote DNS TLS context as well. And the other thing too is like the notion of a handle, like the at username. I believe that originated from Twitter to basically enable mentions, and
Yeah.
really the syntactical adjustment there was to take the diagram that I put in. You take in the local authority, which is like the first part of an email address, for example, and then just throw the at in front, and then the domain authority is actually implied in the context of the service. So at the end of the day, like this is kind of what like email addresses follow, and it's a generalization. It's something that's very simple and humans can actually understand it. You can put some additional adornments on it or just make them implied, like the namespace, the URN, the method, etc. And you can also like add on extra stuff at the end for what they call F components. But the net of it is I just say take a really close look at this. And I found that spec basically did the job what I needed, and you might find that you could do all the agent name stuff as interpreted through this spec. Thanks.
Cool. I'll go take a look at that. Marcus, if you're ready, I want to give you the balance of the time to actually just show how they work, and we can continue to answer questions about them. Do you want to share, Marcus?
Yeah, I will do that.
Good. I'll stop sharing right now, and I will add that note.
And Drummond, as you said, their main thing is what you just said is a sort of, uh, when you have the machine address, finding out a registry, yada, yada, yada. So the translation layer, though, they are also working on, I'm pretty sure. So there is some project there, which I think is should be coordinated with, possibly.
Yes, exactly. Thanks.
So I also put a link in the chat. What you see here is a simple demo page where we tried out and experimented a bit with the concept of agent names, which Drummond just described. And it's a simple version of an agent name resolver. And you can see there's a pre-filled example already, agent names.def /@ Alice. So this is an agent name. There are a few more examples here. And as Drummond has said, there's a two-phase resolution process. First, we can resolve the agent name to a DID, and then we can resolve the DID using standard DID resolution. And that's what this demo site can do. So when I click here on resolve agent name, it will take this agent name and it will look up some information. The way how it works here is that it takes the agent name, and from that host, it constructs a well-known URL that is also shown here, agentnames.dev /wellknown/agentname/alice.json. And what it finds there is actually a verifiable credential, which contains a mapping between an agent name and a DID. And this DID here, which is the subject of the verifiable credential, is basically the result of the agent name resolution process. This is the first step. And then the second step would be to resolve the DID, right? At this point, there's nothing special happening anymore. This is just standard DID resolution. There's a DID document with some example service endpoints for agent names for verifiable trust agents. And there are three examples that actually use different DID methods, so we can demonstrate that the agent name can resolve to DIDs using any DID method. In the DID document, there is also pointer back to the agent name. So if you take a closer look here at the DID document, it contains an also known as entry, which points back to the agent name. So there's a bidirectional link from the name to the deed and from the deed to the name. How exactly this is done? So all the details here of this well-known URL and the mapping, the verifiable credential here, and also known as, this is something that we quickly made up as an experiment. So don't interpret this as being a final specification how it has to be done. I expect that this will be something that this working group here will iterate on and discuss. And at some point, I think we'll want to have a specification which describes how all of that works. So again, I've done this here in one way, how we imagine that this could work with a well-known location, and then a verifiable credential that contains the mapping between the name and the deed. This is signed by one of the keys in the deed document, right? So this is also one aspect here. It's basically a self-attested claim that the name and the deed belong to the same entity. But again, the technical details of this are subject to discussion and further work. But I'm interested in any feedback. Feel free to try it out if anyone else is interested in it. Look forward to any feedback and questions and collaboration. And that's it. That's it for now.
And this is great. I know do any question anyone wants to bring up, please just put your hand up. And to Marcus's mentioned and Otto, you just put in, yes, actually that it's on the agent names task force page. We are proposing that that task force produces the agent name specification 1.0, which would actually cover the syntax, the resolution protocol. In the third key thing, and this is the fact you're looking at a verifiable credential here, really gets to the essence of the aha that finally said, okay, we're ready to bring this, forward. Is this is a self-attested credential of the binding between the agent name and the DID. The power we have here is the third step is we call the agent name verification protocol, and it's described in the FAQ. But I'll just briefly say what you really want is you want the agent that is doing the resolution to follow up after it does either directly from the server here or from an endpoint to request a verifiable credential of this same binding from a trusted party, whoever that trusted party may be. Classic example might be the community that you're dealing with, or the verifiable trust network that you're operating in. The point is, what you want is verification of the binding that the agent name is really representing, is bound to the DID, that is from a party. Anyone could say, like, I'm Marcus Abadello, right? And I could come up with the agent name, Marcus Abadello, put it at some URL, and then of course I control the DID that I bind into it, and now I can act as whatever it is, and in that whatever context or community. Is that really, am I spoofing someone? Is that the legitimate party? And with the agent name resolution, a verification protocol, you can get confirmation that yes, there are other parties that will attest to that binding, and all of that can be verified by an agent in the background. That's the point. So we can finally we can deal with these deeper problems like phishing. I know we're out of time. I just, I'm glad Risa wants to implement it. Yes, we will get to this spec as fast as we can. Some of this is an advertisement for this new task force we just agreed to two weeks ago. If you're interested, feel free to just add your name to that task force page, and feel free to start any discussions or questions in the agent names repo that is listed. I can get it in the chat, but I think we're out of time. So thank you, everyone. And thank you, Marcus, for showing this live. This is one of the exciting features that we're building. Thanks, everyone. And we will be, I always want to mention, we do have the APAC call. Very frequently, it's just Anchor, Shan, and myself. We'll catch up then. But anyone who does want to join or spread the word to others that are in the APAC time zone, that's at 6 p.m. Pacific tonight. So thank you, and we'll see everyone again next week, and off to your next meeting.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.